Originally, I was planning to make this a sort of response video, but I decided against it because the people I would be responding to, I would just basically get brain cancer from. So instead, I'll just debunk his points of basically what he tried to say in those videos, and other criticisms people have brought up of Blaire White. But before we get into that, please give this video a like, subscribe, share it, support my content on Patreon or Ko-fi if you really like it, and of course follow me on Twitter, Parler, Libri, BitChute, and Medium. Libri and BitChute being my alternatives to YouTube just in case if my channel ever gets nerfed. And last, but certainly not least, follow me on Medium. I'm trying to build up my subscriber base there. What I do is I write articles on Medium, so please go follow me there and give each of my articles 50 claps. Now let's get on with the video. Now, are there legitimate criticisms of Blaire White? Yes, very much so. One legitimate criticism I would say is the fact that she is terrible at research. I'm sorry, Blaire White, but this is true. You are very bad at it. You could take at least 30 minutes to do proper research. You should try to read what you're looking at carefully. Now, I'm guilty of making mistakes. I will admit that. However, Blaire White, you have made some pretty blatant mistakes that could have been easily fixed with more research. The most notable incident is in which Blaire White made a video claiming that this trans bodybuilder athlete was competing in women's bodybuilding. And of course, there's the fact that you take a long time to apologize when you've made mistakes. These are some legitimate criticisms, I believe, of Blaire White. Now, the other one that could be, iffy of a criticism is the fact that she does insult people for their looks. I think it depends. Where I believe it is okay to insult someone for their looks or how they sound is in which you are making either a joke or making some other form of commentary about the person's ideas or what they're saying. If you're just doing it to insult someone, then no, I don't think it's really all that great. Now on to unlegitimate criticisms of Blaire White. 1. Calling her racist. I have never seen her saying any particular race should be discriminated because of their skin color or any other kind of characteristic, nor have I ever heard her say any particular race was inferior or superior to one another. The only things I have seen are jokes. And jokes, well, they're jokes. For example, I make jokes about the fact that I'm gay. Do I hate myself for being gay, or do I hate other gay people for just being gay? No. Now, does this mean you can't criticize jokes? Of course not. You can criticize jokes. You can say that you don't believe it is funny, or that you think it went too far, or that you believe it is an inaccurate joke. For example, many people like to make the joke that all Republicans, or a large percentage of Republicans, are racist. That stereotype is false. Another joke that can be criticized is one calling all gay men pedophiles. This is because there is no statistical evidence to say that gay men are pedophiles in such an extreme amount. Other criticisms that are illegitimate are one saying that she's sexist because there's no evidence of that. Saying that the wage gap does not exist doesn't make you sexist. Nor does saying that there is really no evidence of systemic sexism in the United States make you sexist. Because statistically, there isn't really much evidence to say there is. There are a number of articles that contradict one another. Same thing with not believing in systemic racism in the United States. Not believing in systemic racism doesn't make you racist because there is also no evidence of systemic racism today in the United States. A lot of evidence shows that there is none. Now, the last point in which people try to criticize Blaire White is saying that she's transphobic. Now, can a trans person be transphobic? Yes. Do I think Blaire White is? No. Has Blaire White insulted trans people for their looks? Yes, but that doesn't make her transphobic. At most, that would just make her a bit. Another thing that people try to say that she's transphobic for believing in is transmedicalism, and saying that gender dysphoria is a mental disorder, which it is. It's in the DSM-5. Now, as for transmedicalism, that is a legitimate thing because there is no scientific evidence to say that there are more than two genders or more than two sexes. There is no scientific evidence to say that non-binary actually exists. And just because someone says they are non-binary doesn't mean they actually are this thing. Because someone could just say, I'm a dragon. Do we expect them to actually be a dragon? No. There actually has to be scientific evidence to say that this exists. There's legitimate evidence to show that transsexuals exist because they have gender dysphoria, which is a mental disorder. Someone wanting to dress a certain way or wear certain things or put on makeup doesn't make them a new gender or a new sex. That is just gender expression. Other things that people try to say Blaire White is transphobic for is defending J.K. Rowling and right-wing commentators who have maybe transphobic views. Even if we are to say that these are illegitimate transphobic views by right-wing commentators, or if that J.K. Rowling is transphobic, that doesn't make Blaire White transphobic. At most, that would make her ignorant. Also, you have to consider the fact that, again, trans issues have only become very prominent in the recent decade. And trying to associate people who actually might disagree with you is actually a good thing, because that gives you the chance to change those people's minds. Now, there are some people who will never change their minds, but does that mean you should not be able to be their friend? No, not necessarily, but of course, it can depend. The last thing that many try to say that Blaire White is transphobic for is believing that kids should not transition. Which kids should not transition? That is a very big decision that should not happen. There are instances in which kids regret trying to transition because they found out I'm not trans. Or they realize, yeah, I was kind of just, doing it for attention. Or they could be pushed into believing that they are when they really aren't. Or, just forced. Now, a similar problem is with puberty blockers because those also have major problems with them because they can be damaging to the body and damaging to development. Now, you can disagree as to whether these things are actually quite accurate, but to say that Blaire White is transphobic for these opinions, or that anyone is transphobic for these opinions, is just retarded. Anyways, that's it for this video. I hope you guys liked it. If you did, please give it a like, subscribe, share it, comment down below. And of course, support me on Patreon, Ko-fi, and also follow me on Medium, where I post my articles and give each article 50 claps. Do all this, and I'll see y'all later.